content over everything.
All right, so previously I was having a conversation with Sam, and it looked a bit weird because he just legged it. It wasn't because, you know, he was bored. He might have been, I don't know. But he said he had to go at 5:20, so I knew that anyway, and he left midway. Now, I've been asked to speak to yourself by somebody, I won't say who, COE, because the questions I want to ask are still kind of important in order, because you're actually the next generation of white person, let's just put them in brackets, white man, and I know you're young. I know you're young, because one of the things that I was a bit concerned about talking to you is how young you are. But you know what? Who cares? Let's take the gloves off. Let's have a chat. So if you want to introduce yourself, and then we can go forward.
So I'm Jacob. I wasn't prepared for this. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm a patriot. I'm a nationalist. I'm sort of pro-England, much in the same way that you are. Really, I'm a Tommy supporter, and yeah.
You got Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've not gone on the hate train yet?
What of the whole Tommy Robinson is a Zionist chilled kind of thing? I'm not really. Look, I don't get involved in kind of beef within the right wing. I don't like that. I think I'm a pan-nationalist, you know. So I like, you know, Tommy supporters who are more sort of civ-nat like Raj.
Pan-Africanist.
No. I mean, Pan-Africanists are all right, to be honest. If they want to care for their own kind, I'm all right with that. Just as long as whites are allowed to do the same, I don't have a problem.
Because right now within the Tommy movement, or let's just say the right, because a lot of people are kind of like, from the outside it looks quite strange that, you know, there's this kind of infighting.
Yeah.
But what it is that the most Tommy Robinson supporters that I've met are normally civic nationalists.
They are, that's true.
In the sense that, you know, I read out the actual legal, or let's just say that the Wikipedia definition again. So a civic nationalist, is also known as liberal nationalism. Is a form of nationalism identified by political philosophers who believe in an inclusive form of nationalism that adheres with traditional liberal values of freedom, tolerance, equality and individual rights, and not based upon what we call ethno-nationalism, which is about exclusively being of a particular race. So one of the things is that I was explaining before to Sam is that I do believe that, and I know people are going to say a Raj or a coconut or whatever, that all countries, including Indians, including Chinese, have the right to keep the majority of the population of the indigenous population that has been there for, let's say, thousands of years. So I've given I know people saying, where do they get the figure from? But I said to myself, if I went to the Punjab where my people are from, and the immigrant population rose about 30%, I'd have a problem with it.
Jesus
was a Jew.
Not because I hate that immigrant population,
No, not at all.
but because I'll be seeing a very different, and especially if their ideology and their mindset is actually diametrically opposed to the host nation.
Yes.
I don't believe that's racist, because I think Chinese people, I think, you know, if you look around the world, even Indians, if you look in India, they're very ethno-nationalist to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
And so ethno-nationalism, I think, is kind of being misconstrued in a way, because I do disagree with ethno-nationalism, but I think being
I don't call myself an ethno-nationalist.
Yeah, you don't, but
I'm probably closer to it than I am a civic nationalism. But
this is the problem. We need to get you back. So this is the problem. A lot of people are going from civic nationalists who want to keep the indigenous population, the majority, over to ethno-nationalism, which in reality is basically an ethno-state where, if you go down the worst end of it, would be a totally or almost 99% indigenous population, white population. People like Chawala or Ralph that you know, and the reason I'm bringing him up is that he's an adherent of the Great Replacement.
Yeah, well, the fact of the Great Replacement.
Yeah, do you believe so? Explain to me what you believe by the Great Replacement. Remember, he's only 18, so be a little bit
nice, guys. So you reject the Great Replacement, do you?
I don't believe that the Great you explain what it is and I explain what I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So, the Great Replacement, I would say, is the radical demographic replacement of Europeans in their own lands.
Okay.
Basically, that's just...
All right, so what I believe is this here. When you're saying when I hear the Great Replacement, it sounds like there's a plan that has been set up to replace the indigenous white people of Europe, and it's by the Jews or something. Not you.
I know some.
But some groups say it's the Jews, and some groups say that. Now, do I concede that the white indigenous population of Europe is going to be at some point, if things go the way they keep them going in terms of birth rates, could they become not the minority, but at least close to it, like maybe a 60-70%? It can happen, because I don't believe this is something that's being planned. That's the difference, because the Great Replacement sounds like it's some sort of
conspiracy.
Okay. Now, the reason why I'll concede that there is a possibility is because you see it within lots of different nations where the demographics can change, and it has changed, whether it's religiously mainly. But the UK is, on average, the white indigenous population is having 1.8. We say 1.8, but obviously we haven't got a baby with no head or something. But we look at 1.8 average, and then on top of that, what you have is that with the say other communities, you're looking at around a birth rate of maybe 3 to 4. So just in terms of that, it could happen. And I will say something, because a lot of people blame the immigrant population for having more babies than the host nation. Now the problem is that firstly, aborting 150,000 babies a year, in my opinion, is unacceptable. I do believe that abortion to some degree is murder. If you do it for the sake that you just had a night out and then you might have got pregnant and you abort it, I do believe that's unacceptable. And I apologise if I offend anyone for saying that. Yes, I don't know if you want to you agree with anything of what I said?
Yeah, okay, right. So regarding, like, you're talking about, is it some plan? Yes, people do make the mistake. People do make the mistake of kind of assuming that it's all some big, like, Jewish plot. And what the issue here is that I think there is a coordinated effort by, call it the establishment, call it the elites, arguably the same people who are trying to silence Tommy, maybe members of the alt-right will disagree, and Jewish people are disproportionately represented within that elite. And some people make the mistake of assuming that it is an inherently Jewish ploy. And I don't think it is, because there are, plenty of Gentiles have said some disgusting things about white people. Bill Clinton has said also, I think a while ago, he said
Gentiles?
Yeah, non-Jews. So, there's non-Jews say some viciously racist, anti-white things all the time. And, so even the biggest sort of fascist proponents of fascism, like Oswald Mosley, even said, I would never judge a man simply for being born a Jew.
He's back. The great white hope. We're actually talking about it again.
When did they get back down?
Oh, he's back. So we can actually get a conversation going again. All right. So
he wasn't running away.
We just wanted to because the conversation was kind of. He didn't leg it because he was bored. He told me he was going to go. So
I just had to go and do my shopping, so I had to.
Yeah. So he's come back, and so we're talking to COE kind of said, right, carry the conversation on. We haven't been there the whole time.
Okay.
We actually just started 5 minutes ago, and I said, all right, let's talk to the young man. He's only 18.
The greater Israel.
Did you want to go back to the main conversation? So I mean, he's given his kind of. We was talking about the great white replacement. That white replacement. I've just stated, so you might agree or disagree. You might want to give your views that. I don't agree with the great replacement in terms of a conspiracy. Because it sounds like people are, when you talk to people like Mark Collette or you hear them, they're almost talking like there's somebody in a boardroom and they're calculating you have to get rid of white people. Now, do I concede that the birth rates of the white population are very low? And could I see foreseeably in the future that they might become, let's say, at some point, maybe 200 years time? I know for you dumb people, you can't foresee the future. Because one thing I've realised, most people, when you talk about anything outside of their lifespan, it becomes like gobbledygook in their head. But if you can foresee the future, you could see that the birth rates, if they stand the way they are, no amount of abortions that have been happening in the UK, you could see the white indigenous population reduced to probably like 70-60%. It could happen in 200 years' time.
And left-wing papers accept this as well. The Guardian just says it, paints it in a good light. The Guardian just says, great news as diversity will be, there'll be even fewer white people in 40 years' time. So, they admit it.
I agree with you on the great replacement theory. The people that say, it's being manufactured, I think that's just a complete conspiracy theory. But I think that it's a result of mismanagement of our immigration policies over the last 20 years, and also accepting people into our society who perhaps have different values. The birth rate in the Islamic community is a lot higher than any other community, and you've got to look at the birth rate. And
just to interrupt you, but the Sikhs and Hindus have actually, for some reason, got that at 2, which is kind of disturbing.
The optimal rate is 2.1. 2.1.
Yeah, so the Sikh and Hindu community, when I saw it, originally when they come, they were at 4, and over a generation, it's now down to 2.
And do you know why that is?
I don't know. I'm not.
I'll tell you what it is. It's because in Sikh communities, in white British communities, in Hindu communities, traditionally you'll have sort of a working family structure, right?
It's right, yeah.
You have a working family structure.
Yeah, no.
It's like Charlie Brown.
You've got a sort of a respectful work ethic, right? In the Islamic community, they want to have as big a families as they possibly can. So have as many children as they can. If they can have 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're happy to do that. If you look at the employment rate or the labour force participation rate in the Islamic community, in men it's 51%, and in women it's 75% of them are unemployed, so they're not in the workforce. So I think that you've got a vast section of society whose birth rate is the highest, relying on the benefits system, and they're just pumping out children willy-nilly, not thinking about the responsibility of
let's not say pumping out.
Come on, that's what it is. They are pumping them out.
I'm trying to be I've got enough trouble as it is.
Okay.
As long as it's not you saying it.
Let me try and be the white knight.
Okay. So they're giving birth to too many children, and then the reliance or the burden is being placed on the state. And you can see that with the unemployment rate. You can put those two together very simply. I think that British people, Hindus and Sikhs, are not inclined to just get married and have as many children as they can, because they actually have a feeling of would have a feeling of shame if they were to have 5 or 6 they know that they can't support.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we've grown up in working households where normally either the father works or the mother and the father work. A good work ethic, and with the cost of living going up, people in white British families and Sikh and Hindu communities can no longer afford to buy a house, a car, and support children.
Well, I've realised with the Sikh and Hindu community, they also, the more prosperous they go, the less kids they have for with. I've sort of realised that when I see families and they're quite affluent because they're working so much, they're not so frivolous with their money, maybe they're saving up, and they also become much more conservative in their views in terms of this generation. So right now you have people like, which I couldn't believe that Boris Johnson was in one of the biggest Sikh temples in the UK, and I guarantee he would have probably got a lot of votes from them, and that was unthinkable my generation. And so I think when it comes to, I think the Sikh and Hindu community, as kind of like the more they kind of integrate them, the more they become kind of part of the UK society, are much more forward thinking. And if you have too many kids, no offence, and you can't look after them, and they're a drain on the society.
That is irresponsible.
It is irresponsible. I'm not saying Muslim community does that, but it is irresponsible in the sense that you're putting a drain on society and the tax on other people in order to look after your...
Another one of the issues is that you need to look at that. People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to say that it's a drain on society. I'm happy to say that it's a drain on society. And also, to further the point, you've got to look at what are the long-term ramifications of this. If you bring up in a household, if neither your mother or your father is working, you have 5 children, and they see that, they grow up seeing that you can be supported by the state, you can have as many children as you want. Each of those 5 kids then goes and has 5 kids, and half of those parents don't work, which the statistics support. It only exacerbates the problem. So I think we do need to talk about it rather than just say, we'll pretend that it's not an issue. Because in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, or 200 years' time, it will be a very, very, very big problem.
Yeah, all right. So that's subject matter. I need to look into myself. Because I don't have enough knowledge about, whether all of this is true or whether it's half truths or whatever. But I do agree with you on certain points. Now, one of the things that I find a little bit difficult with the right, let's just say, and I'm going to differentiate between the far right, which is the Mark Colletts and Jawala, and the right, which is more civic nationalists, who also do have
the cocked right.
who do also have. The problem I'm having is that people are either ethno-nationalists or civic nationalists. And I think a civic nationalist can still be concerned about the indigenous population being a minority and not being ethno-nationalist once they say that.
It doesn't even come down to that. People always try and put it down to race. It's not really about race. I think it's more about culture. It's about culture and integration and respect for others' values. And I think that the reason that Sikhs and Hindus integrated so well into British society is because we all have shared values around family, around culture. We integrate with each other. We're friendly with each other. We go to school together. We work together. Whereas in the Muslim community in particular, they don't seem to want to assimilate, and also a lot of the values in Islam are contradictory to the values that we have in a progressive society.
But I will say this is more of a new phenomenon though.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I always explain that when I was growing up, I was one of the only Sikhs in my area, and it was quite diverse, but there was a lot of Muslims there. This attitude of them and us was not there. It was just, okay, everyone would like, I mean, a simple thing like now it's Christmas, happy Christmas to everybody. A simple thing like Christmas has now become a right shit show in the UK. And the reason it's become a shit show is because people think by saying happy, like I say happy Christmas to you, means that I believe in Christmas. But what I'm doing is that I'm doing what humans have done for a long time, which is to ingratiate myself with you. And one way to do that is to say happy Christmas, and then when it's Diwali, you might say happy Diwali. And we don't need to believe in each other's beliefs. And this has now come to the point where in the UK, you now have happy holidays. And so little things like that I've seen.
Which, let's be honest, is a bit gay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No one wants to say it.
Oh, don't say the word gays. We're going to be homophobic. We've got enough enemies as it is. So little things like that, and that sounds quite trivial, is kind of like when you look at it, you're like, okay, this is systemic in kind of the problems. Like, there's a culture that has come in that is very, very.
They won't say Merry Christmas. They won't say Happy Diwali.
Yeah, I mean some do. Don't get me wrong, some do.
Yeah, but
it was a point when I was growing up that it was to the point that we'd be giving each other Christmas cards, and when I go around my Muslim friend's house, they had a Christmas tree in the house. Now that's unthinkable, I think, in my opinion. And if someone did it, they'd get ostracized from the community. A lot of people saying you're doing shirk. There will be a shirk one special coming up this year, hopefully. So, I mean, let's go on to the kind of civic nationalism.
Just hang on, just before you go on to that, I think I take a slightly different position.
There you go, man. Sorry, I apologise for not letting the young man talk.
No worries. Now that I've got a better...
Yeah, you've got the great white hope is here.
But, because your position is really like, oh, it's just about culture. It's just about ideas. Nothing to do with race. And I'm sorry, it is about race.
All right.
Let's not lie. You know, it's not only about race. That's what some sort of alt-right or ethnos get wrong, is they say it's about race and race only. But you know, they're also right when they say that, look, race is a part of culture. Okay, and nobody denies that. Everyone knows that race, you know, is inextricably linked to culture. And that's.
Yeah, good.
I apologize if I've been...
We're in the mid.
No, I'm just apologizing to this guy.
Yeah, it's
okay. I don't mean it, you know.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
See you guys later.
See you later. Thank you. Okay, all right,
so I guess that's one area where I do agree with ethno-nationalism.
He shook a brown man's hand. Evidence.
And all of my ex-girlfriends, 5 of my last ex-girlfriends have been Middle Eastern.
Oh no, a traitor to the cause.
Isn't he that guy who supports North Korea?
No, that's a different one. Let's not get derailed by it, but if you just give your opinion.
So I would say that I agree with ethno-nationalists when they say that, look, race, we can't deny race, we can't play this sort of postmodern game of race doesn't exist, or ideas, you know, the Sargon of Akkad, you know, ideas are all that matter, stuff like that. So, you know, a part of maintaining cultural homogeneity is maintaining racial homogeneity. And I'm not saying we should be deporting all non-whites or whatever, but I would say close the borders. You know,
manage immigration.
Manage immigration as in cut it to near zero level.
There's a difference between saying, because I believe there are races.
Yeah, so do I.
You just need to look. There are different people of different races, and one of the things about human beings, they're very tribal. The more genetically closer you are to somebody, whether that's your family or your group of people that are similar to you, you're going to be drawn to them. That doesn't mean you're racist. Now, when it becomes racist is when you believe your race is genetically superior to the other race. Yeah. Now, if you believe that, then you're crossing over to what's called racist, white supremacy. Now, if you're saying that,
but it works on the other side as well. You know, there are people that come to this corner who I would classify as black supremacists.
of course, yeah. I mean, you have the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Raspik call them out? There's a
I'd
couple
say
of
Raven has a touch on it about himself.
He's a black supremacist.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. To be honest,
All Ravens.
people say like, oh, if they're black supremacists,
You want to join in?
aren't they just sticking up for their own people? I mean, like, is it that? But I mean, I'm not pro black supremacy or anything, but I kind of sympathise with black nationalists. I mean, they care about their own kind.
Well, that's fine. But it's fine if you want to be a black nationalist, then absolutely. But when you're a white nationalist, don't call them a white supremacist. You know?
Yeah, well,
Double
exactly. No, I
standard.
completely agree. And
You've got to concede that throughout history, like when you hear about a black nationalist, you're not going to really start thinking of genocides. When you start thinking about Indian nationalists, you're not going to. But when you start thinking about white nationalists and how far it can go in terms of Europe and what's happened within Europe with the Nazis, it has really gone left to a next degree.
Well,
so people are kind of rightfully a bit more afraid of white nationalists because when you lot go mad,
They were killing other
they
white
go
people,
mad.
But they were killing other white people.
When they go mad, they go mad.
This is an example of like the anti-white bias, right, by the elite. Because if you go on Wikipedia, right, and you search up like black nationalism, or you search up sort of, oh no, it's not nationalism, it's pride, white pride, okay, versus black pride, Asian pride, LGBT pride.
So
For all the other things that aren't white, you get stuff like, oh, black pride is a movement that advocates celebration of black people and culture, or Asian pride is blah blah blah, or LGBT pride is the celebration of people who are gay, whatever. You go on white pride is a white supremacist ideology advocated by neo-Nazis.
I don't believe that. Look here,
I know you don't. I'm just saying
I've had
it's
this
an example
conversation
of the
quite a lot
anti-white
here with
prejudice.
certain individuals, Raspik, which is that you can say that I'm proud of my history and my people, but still concede you might have made big mistakes in your past.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you kind of like concede. And so what I've realised with the white people is that, especially English, is that even if you say that you're proud of your history, automatically you're a demon.
Yeah.
And you can say, I'm proud of my history, but there's been a lot of bad in there. There's been some things
A
that
lot
I
of good
support,
as well, let's be
and some
honest.
stuff that I support. Now, I think that's where some people then get pushed to the extreme, because when you tell people that you can't be proud of anything, then that person's going to say, screw you. I'm just going to go and say, I'm going to go to the complete opposite.
Who's responsible for white pride being off? Like white
Come
pride.
on, Jacob.
Joseph.
Let the
What-
Jew in.
What? Who's responsible for white pride having the associations that it has?
People probably.
Both of you.
Yeah, but he's young, so he's very
It's
good.
all right.
I don't
It's really
know.
nice.
I'd say everything. Institutions like universities that teach whiteness studies that make us look back over the history of the evils that whites have committed.
I would put forward a different argument.
I know what you're going to say.
I would say
Be careful.
The reason white pride has the associations, the negative associations that it does, is that in the 70s and 80s particularly, it was an expression that was coined by far-right neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
And so now if you type white pride in, you'll see neo-Nazi flags, you'll see skinheads, you'll see all those associations. Because there's never been a positive movement which celebrates the greatness that Europeans have contributed to the world. And so I'd argue it's not some conspiracy, it's not the institutions.
Well, it is. I stand by my point that in universities that are teaching whiteness studies, that basically bash white people and colonialism and our past. That absolutely plays a
You
part.
see it at my uni. That's what they.
All right, so
all the
let
time.
me tell you one of the biggest problems I have when I speak to people who are white. No offense.
It's okay to be white.
But
It's great,
One of the
actually.
biggest problems I have is that they.
Brilliant.
Let me say something. One of the biggest problems I have is that a lot of them don't really differentiate between colonization for one and slavery. They seem to bunch them together.
Because one of those is good.
They're two very different things. So when I speak to somebody like, we're going to say Raspik or somebody that's from the Caribbean, I do sympathise with them being goddamn pissed off with what happened to their people. Because not only were they taken over, they lost all their culture, they lost their history. And with colonisation, the British were only in my place of the world for 97 years. But that's been there for thousands of years. And I still have my name, my religion, my buildings are still there, and all the culture. The other thing I have a problem with is that you hear some, people saying, oh, well, colonisation was good for these countries. Now, let me explain one thing. We don't care whether it was good. Nobody wants to be ruled by a different person. So the argument is null and void. You can tell me 50,000 things about the British, what they did in India. And I would still say to you, I'd rather not have them and still be free.
But
The same way with Brexit.
But what I'd say, to that is that, so would you rather have India the way it is today in terms of the trade relationships, the business and developed economy that it is, that is absolutely to do with colonialism? Or would you rather have not had colonialism and perhaps been on the back foot as an economy, as a society?
Like I've always said, I'd rather be a down and out tramp on the and people can say I am one, and be on the road. No, but they do. Trust me. And be on the road and be a free man, than be in a castle and be owned by somebody. So to me, when I think about this, I don't think about the materialistic or stuff like this. I think even with Europe, a lot of people don't understand with Brexit, people don't care about the economy per se, or what happens, because they would rather be free than be part of a system which is they're shackled to. And that's the same problem I have with a lot of Brits when they're talking about colonialism. That we don't care about whether you believe, because there are some instances, I know people are going to get angry, there are certain things that India still uses within its system, like the judicial system and the certain things within there that still use, and even the democracy has come from the British as well. But India hasn't been some backward hellhole before the British come anywhere. We've had a great civilization, was one of the most affluent areas in the world, hence why
Hey, it's Essex.
Essex. Oh, big up. Yeah, we do. Oh, we can't. I don't hide this in my seat. There's a lot of Sikhs here today, man. Look what he brought over. So we was actually talking about India, and one of the things I was saying to these guys that the Indians. Look, whether you believe that the Brits, as a colonial power, done good is irrelevant. The point is, we do not want to be ruled by a different country. And so I think once you understand that, you'll understand why people get a bit annoyed sometimes when you hear white people going, okay, well, we gave you this. It happens a lot when I speak to people. Yeah, the white man.
Let me respond though, because the reason a lot of the time that we say
it's all his fault.
A lot of the time that we say that we go into the arguments about the economic benefits, and I understand you're going to be annoyed. Well, never mind the economics, psychologically.
But you do know India was one of the wealthiest places in the world before the Brits come. The reason why the Brits come to India because it was so wealthy.
Yeah, it actually was. It was very costly to run it as part of the empire.
But what I'm saying is that when they come over there, they didn't just come in and conquer India. What happened to Bangladesh? You let the side down, because you have to understand India is a massive place. What you think of today as India, there was no real construct of India. There was lots of kingdoms. And so when they come in, they come in the 16th century, and they actually were trading. So the East India Company went into Bangladesh, and they slowly maneuvered their way. I will say something about the British. They were very good at dividing and conquering, because they understood that when you think about Indians, you probably think me and somebody else from Bangladesh are the same. I don't understand their language, I have a different culture, so we're so different that it's easy to pit ourselves against each other. We have a long-standing history of anonymity between ourselves as well, so when the Brits did come in, they understood that and used a divide and conquer. And they were very good at it, I'm not going to lie, they were good at that.
But that's just the nature of, that's how you conquer, divide and conquer. That's what the Vikings did to us.
And so the same way with yourselves, London right now was called Londinium, and it was founded by the Romans. And all these aqueducts or whatever they were, or the roads, I bet the British people at that time, when the Romans left, they didn't think to themselves, oh, thank God they were here.
I can say now that being part of the Roman Empire was definitely beneficial to us as a society.
We were weaker. We were the weaker side. We got conquered. Too bad for us.
It took us forward as a society.
But you're looking at that now, because you're detached 2,000 years later.
It's more recent.
You're talking about people that our forefathers just one generation ago were ruled by the UK. So it's still very kind of what you call kind of like a pulls at the heartstrings of people. So
I think the Brexit argument's better.
The Brexit argument.
Imagine both of you are both not Remainers.
I'm not.
The Brexit argument is perfect because.
No, I don't think it is.
Hold on. I'll tell you why I think it is.
You were conquered by a powerful foreign.
Because I'll tell you why it's exactly the same. Because whenever I argue against people, I ask them this question: would you rather be with Europe and the European Union and be prosperous, or be out of the European Union and be poorer.
No, but we're not.
No, but I'm saying, but most of the people who asked this question to, who voted Brexit, said they don't give a shit
That's true,
about the economy. And they want to be out of it. They don't want to be shackled by Europe. And that's the same argument with colonisation.
So let me break it down. So to divide it, because we're very good at dividing things. So to divide the argument up, you can go, if you look at, so colonialism was all about trade and development and business and growing economies.
Oh yeah,
right?
okay.
And so that's the sort of expansionist, sort of policy. Whereas if you look at being a member of the European Union exists to bureaucratically suppress business and to suppress trade and suppress opportunity. And so the two aren't really the same, because one is about suppression and one's about expansion. One's about opportunity and the other's about
the EU is an expansionist. So you're saying the EU isn't expansionist?
Yeah. I'm saying it's a protectionist racket, whereas colonialism is more about opportunity, investing in business and growing.
Oh, come on.
It's expansionist.
It's
in
a
the
very,
sense that it
very
would like more states to be a part of it.
flowery version of colonialism. Very sweet. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds cute.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
But it's not actually.
sell it to you.
Well, I'm saying it's not as simple as that. You need to understand. No people want to be ruled by a country thousands of miles away. Not even the Americans, who were actually Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be ruled by the UK. It's just a natural thing for human beings.
Except
not
when
to want to be ruled.
when we say we don't want a bunch of people.
Yeah,
being
but
ruled
I
who live thousands
agree
of miles away. I know you
I
agree.
agree that I voted Brexit.
Yeah.
So I want to be out of the European Union for that exact reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to be controlled by an outside body that we don't really have any say in per se. Yeah. So I agree with you on that. Now, when it comes to the Mark Collett situation, like
Who is a patriot, by the way? I don't agree with him.
He's a Nazi.
He's
He's a neo-Nazi.
Look, his stance on Jews is wrong.
He's actually a Nazi,
I watched the debate with you literally the other day.
He is a hardcore Nazi. He was thrown out of the BNP for Nazi views.
Look,
he was out in a documentary, Young Nazi and Proud.
Yeah.
His girlfriend.
I know. Yes, I've seen
all over the place.
I've seen her.
Now, if I said to you, I'm not a Nazi, but a girlfriend standing next to me was plastered with swastikas, what would you think of it?
I don't agree.
He's doing the
I don't agree with Mark
divide
Collett and everything,
conquer.
but I'm just saying because you sort of like came at him and said like, oh, then there's the real, the Mark Colletts. But he, as a pan-nationalist, I still have to accept he's a patriot. I don't think his sort of hardcore like anti-Jewish
a patriot.
Yeah.
So view patriot is just can encompass anyone.
Well, it's not the various
but
Islamic
anyone who's
terrorists.
patriotic to the UK can be a patriot, irrespective of whether they're on the left or the right, whether they're on the Nazi or...
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, the lefties need to... Let's sort them out later.
I would say there's very few patriots on the left.
I'm joking, we're not saying that. We'll sort them out later. Don't worry.
The only
In a
people
good
we
way.
should
Jeremy
support
Corbyn.
are lefties.
Oh, no,
Don't start.
Yeah, but the problem I have with this is that when you're... Look, I cannot deny that some of the points that Mark Collett makes
are valid.
And this is why he's so... This is why he's so dangerous.
Which ones?
Do you know that other than obviously there's the Jewish question, but leaving the JQ aside, is he not right about immigration, about demographics, about tradition?
So just
Basically, he may be right about some things, but his solutions are very savage and extreme.
Well, no, he doesn't
In the
advocate
sense
violence.
that to solve the problem, he's willing to cut off a limb.
Just immediately deporting people, that's not a good policy.
Okay,
what you should do is you should manage your immigration policy if you don't want more people to come. You can't blame
and stop abortions.
individuals. You can't blame individuals
stop abortions.
who come to a country. When we open the door and we put a policy in place and people come, you can't blame the people, you've got to blame the policy, so you change the policy.
But
say people like him, people like Mark, and to an extent other people on the far right, they blame the individuals. It's like, don't blame the individuals, blame the policy and then try and fix the policy so in 10, 15 years time we're not in a worse position than we are now. We try and sort of repair things rather than just going, right, we'll deport everyone, we'll divide our society even further. It's just not
But would
that's
you,
me saying that as somebody who would consider...
I mean, how do you think...
Would you immediately deport someone who, say, like, burn an English flag in the middle of the park? I would say there's certain instances where you could say, you know what, off you go. Like, there's some people I would just get rid of immediately.
Probably not somebody that burned a flag. I'd probably give them a fine or, maybe...
Okay, or something more extreme. Or someone who is standing...
If you're convicted of
terrorism. If you're an ISIS.
boot them!
Straight out. All the guys that are out on early release that have been sent back to prison over the last couple of weeks, I would take all of those individuals, I would put them in a helicopter, I would fly them over the sea with concrete in their boots.
I'm saying
What about Northern Irish people who did the same sort of crimes?
same with them.
Is it? Oh,
So, no, so
IRA
because they're indigenous to the Isles, so to speak.
But they can't be deported. We don't have
That's what I'm
anywhere to
asking,
send them back
that's-
to.
You can't deport Irish people. You can't take Irish people. You can
So,
put
so
them in
it does
prison.
come down to
But they're our
ethnicity.
responsibility.
Yeah, so it's not the crime, it's the ethnicity.
So let's say somebody comes from Somalia and they commit terrorism offences in the UK. Why should the British state pay for them to be in prison? Why don't we just say, okay, actually, you know what, we'll send you back to Somalia because you're a citizen of Somalia. You're not a British citizen. If you're a British citizen, then perhaps
I actually agree on that case, but I'm just trying to explore this. Second generation immigrant?
if they've got, I guess if they're you classify them as a British citizen. So yeah.
So yeah, let's say they're born, both their parents are Somali.
Yeah.
They carry out a terror, they go join ISIS, whatever it is. Deport them to Somalia, or they stay here because they were born in the UK?
If it was the parents, I'd deport them. But if it was the children, I'd let them stay in the UK and put them into the British system and put them into the prison system.
I mean, a plane journey doesn't change nationality, does it? Even if you then have a kid there.
No, but it's the thing. Because the argument is if you've got the two parents, right? If they come from Somalia and then they go and commit a terrorist offence, I think they should be sent back to Somalia. But if you've got the two parents, they come here, goodwill, they've worked, they've paid taxes, they've contributed to the system. If they then have a child, who I would consider them to be a British citizen because they've paid into the system, they were born here, then I think that individual,
I don't want to
you've got
hurt
a
your
responsibility.
feelings. You're actually a civic nationalist.
I know.
Is this
I don't.
This is the thing. Just because I hang out with Ralph, it doesn't mean that I'm as far out as he is. But that individual should then be put into our judiciary system, put into our prison system, and dealt with accordingly. But if you're a Somali national, or if you're Sudanese, or wherever you're from, if you come here and within the first couple of years of being here, you engage in terrorist activity, I'm sorry, but you just got to go.
I think a huge proportion of Britons would agree with that as well.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think that's a fringe
fair.
position.
That's fair.
I don't think that's
I don't think any
edgy or fringe.
Or if if they're actually guilty of terrorist act, I'd say kill them.
I'm against the death penalty.
Yeah, I'm against the death penalty as well.
You're against the death penalty? Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd bring it back for some crimes.
Do you know how many miscarriages of justice have happened over the last couple of years?
This sounds dodgy.
And if you
wait. This sounds harsh. Purely from a kind of statecraft, state managing point of view. People say like, oh, better the one guilty man go free. I don't know what the phrase is. There's something about like better guilty men go free.
Let me just say something. If it was you as the one person that was found to be guilty of a crime you didn't commit, you wouldn't have thinking like that.
Of course I wouldn't.
So you have to always think about yourself and put yourself in the shoe.
Can I just add to it? One of the reasons that I'm opposed to death penalty is I think that if you commit a crime that would be worthy of being killed in death penalty, whatever, then I think that you're better off rotting in jail and spending 30 or 40 years of your life in a box with bars on the window and hating every moment of it than getting the easy way out and somebody giving you some kind of
but we pay for it then. We
Are you
taxpayers have to then pay for it.
any of you not atheists by any chance?
I'm an anti-theist.
And that's even worse.
A civ not anti-theist.
So you're a Christian, are you?
Yeah, but not in the orthodox sense of the word, but
Just in the identity sense.
No. But as in not in the kind of hardcore
celebrate Christmas
evolution denying. Yeah, exactly. But,
All right. Don't you think that the kind of like decline of Christianity within the West is also its own downfall as well, in the sense that at one point there was a national identity based around religion as well.
Yeah.
Do you not see there is a point in a way to a religion, because once that void's gone, you can easily then take them over to lots of different thought processes, and then you've got nothing to really connect to. How are you, bro?
What's up?
Too many white people in one shop.
Yeah, honestly.
What do I count as
1,
Raj?
2, 3. Well, then again, all right, come in. You can come in as well.
So what, you think religion gives people structure, so we should maintain it?
Yeah, I mean, personally, obviously, I don't want to be Christian. Stop trying to do evangelize me. I'm not saying that.
I was raised as a Christian.
What I'm saying is that one of the things that I find quite sad is that, like in my area where I won't say where it is, the one place where there was a mosque, a temple, and a church, and the only one that is closed down is a church. And stuff like that, when you see it, and then you realise, come in if you want to talk. Don't be a keyboard warrior without a keyboard. Get in there. Yeah. So basically,
He likes long range discussions.
All right. Well, no, they're using the. So basically, I do think that Christianity is a way to, like, a religion is to kind of bond the people as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like evangelical Christians, but I think that's one of the downfalls of the West. Is they've lost that.
Why not evangelical?
Oh, because they're retarded.
Oh, it depends how evangelical.
Yeah.
They're going to start preaching to me 24/7. I don't need that kind of stuff.
Catholic Church did a lot of preaching.
Let's
Church
not
of
talk-
England did a lot of
let's
preaching.
not talk
They
about
literally
Catholic
killed the
Church.
Catholics.
But that's my main problem with Islam is that they're always trying to expand. They're trying to actively
Not in
expand.
Speaker's Corner, they're not.
Yeah. Just go over to conversion corner there, the banner, and you can take it.
You hear it, you know when someone's been converted because a massive cheer goes up in some Arab.
So did you become Christian recently, or you always?
Yeah, no, fairly recently. I was quite a diehard atheist.
Up until the age of 15, I had to go to church every Sunday.
Oh, okay, so we're sort of
But can you not see that now that Christianity has been kind of like decimated to a certain degree?
and cucked. It's been cucked.
What's happening now is that there's a void.
It's not a void though, because this is.
There is a lot of white converts. Have you seen the amount of gingers that have converted?
Yes.
Like, it's a ridiculous amount. Yeah. And so even you guys, so you will see that there are a lot of white converts. And the reason being is because I believe that most people are kind of spiritual in a way.
But most people in the UK don't convert to Islam. It's a tiny number.
The biggest
of
group.
people convert.
If you look at religion, the biggest group. The biggest group expanding is atheists, people leaving religions. That's the biggest, even globally.
But
people talk
well,
about Islam.
globally, Islam is actually doing better than atheism.
But that's because the birth rate's not.
have more children.
Yeah, okay.
You
That's a lot of-
atheists,
that's a
you
lot of
just don't
Muslims there.
procreate.
The thing about Islam is funny in the sense that you can. It's almost like you
Funny?
you impose
I've
it.
never heard that before.
Okay, it's a joke. You
Oh, no,
impose
no,
it on
that's
people. So you have 5 children, and that's it. Especially if they're women, there is no way that they're getting out of Islam. They're not allowed to leave the religion. They're not allowed to make their own decisions. They're forced to wear clothes that they probably don't want to wear. It's oppressive. It's arguably fascistic. And the reason that there are more and more Muslims is because you've got like a patriarchal system that's saying, okay, I've got 5 children. You're Muslim, my wife, you're Muslim, my second wife, you're Muslim, my third wife, you're Muslim, my fourth wife, you're Muslim. And so they sort of dictate that everyone's Muslim. And really,
I don't want to say what I want to say next, but I have to. That's why, that's why Hitler actually really admired some of the Islamic thought. Because he saw it as a very
Wait, how's
strong,
that controversial? That's just a
he
fact.
saw it as a very strong kind of like system.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of, no offense, kind of fascist in nature.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of people.
We need a Muslim here.
I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, we really do.
So if you look at like people even on the far right, like Jawala, you will see that he praises the Islamic kind of like concept of how they kind of run.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
well, is he wrong?
No. I mean, look, I will credit Muslims with one thing that I admire. They understand how to retain the family structure, and how to grow the family structure, and not. Do you understand? It's a very important thing to sustain the civilization.
So why
they
are you
understand that.
That's very
They understand that very well.
So why are you against mass Muslim migration to the UK?
For me,
Because you just said that's what's collapsed in the UK, and then you've got a community over here that actually seems to perfectly.
Civic Nationalism.
All right. So the thing is, I don't mind. Now this is gonna be controversial. I don't mind Muslims. I don't care if they pray. I don't care if they fast or whatever. They can do whatever they want. My biggest issue with like Islam or Muslims is that when they become, let's just say, the more orthodox they become, it's like oil and water with any other society. It becomes it happened in India. Now I don't want to scare story, but India at one point.
Who's the boss?
Why do you think there's a Pakistan, India, and a Bangladesh?
Anti-Semitic, mate.
Why do you think? Yeah, so
they can't live.
yeah, so they knew themselves that they could not live in a majority country which was Hindu, because they have to be in control. So this is my problem. Like when the larger the Muslim community grows, the more concerned I would be about things changing in the society, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to say what I want to do. I want to listen to music. I want to do this. I want to do that. And unfortunately, these kind of things, if the population grows, and I'm not scaremongering, I'm doing about 200-300 years time. If it does grow to a point where, it gets to 30% or something, there's no doubt it would affect certain things that people enjoy around the UK.
Of course.
I know I'm going to get a lot of stick for that. Oh no.
No, it's true. And that's when I talk about culture, I talk about even the smallest things in British culture, the things that you're not allowed to do in Islam. It's like if you want to drink alcohol, you can. If you want to smoke cigarettes, you can. If you want to have sex before you get married, you can. All of these things. In Islam, it says, "Oh no, you can't do that." Well, absolutely prohibited. And I just don't think it's compatible.
Well,
with the
you
way
see,
that
Has Islamic societies changed though? Because many would argue that they've become far more strict in the last 50 years.
Yeah,
and so if you approach Islam as just being I don't know, Wahhabism or whatever.
Kind of monolithic.
Yeah, there's no doubt, you're right. I grew up with Muslims. And this is why I'm so concerned when I see it. Because this is a new phenomenon. For their children are more orthodox than the people that I grew up with. And that's the opposite for the other communities. Like, for the Sikhs, we have the same regulations. Not drinking, not doing this, not doing that. But we don't go about...
I'll put something...
Well, I don't drink anymore. For me, I stopped drinking 7 years ago. I know, we have a big problem with alcohol, yeah. But within our faith, we don't... we prohibit that way as well. But we don't enforce our way of life on the indigenous population. So, an example...
Halal food in all primary school dinners. In all school dinners now, all of the meat that's used is halal.
Do you know how controversial that is, though?
Very small percentage.
You know the Sikhs can make a big fuss about this?
Yeah.
Because in Sikhism, what people don't realise, one food that is totally prohibited, halal meat.
Really?
Yeah, it's prohibited. So what's happening is that it's against our, we're supposed to be vegetarian, but if you do eat meat, you cannot eat halal. It's forbidden.
Why not halal?
Yeah? Because we believe that the way they kill the animal, and I know he's going to go thing, is actually inhumane and causes suffering to the animal. And so the Sikhs cannot eat that. And that's within our scriptures.
How would Sikhs kill an animal? In a humane way, how would you kill an animal?
What we do, look, this is a bit more controversial. Like,
Jewish
we are supposed to be vegetarians, but if Sikhs do eat meat, they have their own form of cutting the head, which is called jutta. I actually disagree with it.
Jutta?
Yeah, I disagree.
How do you
with
do
it.
jutta?
Well, what they do, I don't want to talk about this because I'm going to get a lot of stick, but basically, if they do it, they will have a goat. Let's just say there's a goat. I don't even like doing it, but they'll just swipe it with one quick swipe at the top of the neck.
So
Not a cut
rather than the
upwards.
bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's a quick swipe. And I will say something, the Sikh, before everyone gets controversial, it's a little bit, when it comes to the Sikhs, although we believe you shouldn't eat meat, we do have circumstances, like if you're in a war, and I'm not gonna, and the only thing I can eat is an apple, and if my family's gonna be killed, I'll eat that goddamn goat if I'm gonna defend the family. So we are a bit more reasonable in that.
Do you eat meat?
I don't know, I'm vegetarian all my life. But the thing is here that, so you can argue that the Muslims requiring that is actually imposing on us as Sikhs, but we
They
haven't
don't care.
considered.
But that's the thing about the Muslim community, they don't care. You could raise that argument and they just say, no, Islam is
Leave us to our practices.
They say Islam is more important than your needs.
They'll make some freedom of
And I will say one thing, one of the things that I hear all the time is like, when you talk about British culture, they go, it's just chaps and pubs. And like, but to me,
Pubs are definitely a part.
I will say pubs are a part of it, yeah, but culture to me is like the music, the landscape, the area, the humour, everything is a part of culture within a nation. And we know that when it comes to Islam, it's not the most humorous culture, if you think about it. And so even one thing, like, I stopped drinking 7 years ago.
Okay.
I still go to the pub.
Yeah.
My brother is a full baptized Sikh.
Yeah.
He still goes to the pub.
Yeah.
Because we understand sitting in a pub
It's the
doesn't
conviviality of it.
mean that you're actually participating in drinking.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there to
That
kind of
does help.
socialise with people, yeah? So even that is like, a way of ingratiating yourself with the host nation.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go to the pub and drink, but you can drink.
There's other
you
ways
Coke.
to be English,
No, I'm just saying that, but a lot of arguments is that it's just about pub culture and this and that. And I'm trying to explain that a culture is much more than just that.
People talk about pubs, that's an interesting one. I like going to the pub, and I think more of it is, it's not down to just drinking alcohol, it's more about the conviviality of it. It's about bringing a community together and meeting your neighbours and meeting the people that live in your area. And that's, it's more sort of a social thing. And obviously with Islam it prohibits that. But when people talk about British culture, it's easy. It's just three things. You've got freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of expression. And none of those work with Islam. Because you don't have freedom of choice, you don't have freedom of expression. If you want to be a homosexual, they'll throw you off a cliff. And you don't have...
No, be compassionate. I think they use stones now.
You do have
I'm going to joke. There you go.
But obviously, those three things don't work with Islam.
Yeah, I know it looks like we're bashing on Islam, but
we don't have Muslims here to defend
if you're
themselves.
looking at, if I was asking a question to a lot of people on the panels the other day and it's a very serious question, and I'm like, okay, don't get scared when I say this. Don't get triggered. But no, I'm not. So basically, if I said to him, think of a hypothetical that if the UK suddenly had a 30% Sikh population, how much would it affect the government? and the way of the kind of structural nature of the UK. And I would argue very minimal in terms of the government. I'm talking about the government, yeah? Now, if you used to have the same thing with the Hindus, I would say very minimal. But when it comes to the Muslims, there is no doubt it would affect the government and the way certain things are run in the UK.
Rate, the unemployment rate, all of them are higher than the UK average.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the government. So you're talking about like free speech would be hindered. You'd probably democracy would be hindered. A lot of things would be hindered if the Muslim population was large enough. Whereas other communities, even if they did hypothetically, don't get scared, white people, hypothetically, they did grow to that point, the effect it would have on the host nation in terms of the government free speech stuff, because Sikhism doesn't have restrictions of free speech per se. And we don't have, the main difference is we don't have a political ideology.
Which Islam is.
Yeah, so Islam has
it. It should change its name to Islamo-fascism.
Yunus! Pick up Yunus. I won't ever see you for a long time, man. You don't talk. He always gets into trouble. He's always saying. We're talking about ethno nationalism and civic nationalism.
It's kind of drifted though, isn't it?
So this is Yunus. He's actually known as the. I don't want to say. Let's not say it.
No, go on. You have to
say it now.
Let's just say he's known as like even worse than me in terms of being a coconut. Let's just say that.
Okay.
He's really the ultimate bounty bar around here. So why have they called you that? Because you're a civic nationalist like me. Yeah. So he's from a Somalian background, but he's a civic nationalist. And so he will probably agree, he's agreed with a lot of stuff that, when he says it, like, he does get a lot of stick for it, and I respect him for sticking to his own ground. Because,
Happy Christmas,
what's going on?
What's happening?
The Jews, what's the Jews doing?
It's the Jews, man, don't you know? It's all the Jews.
It's
all them. It's the Jews, man. It's the Jews.
Don't make
What's about the Jews?
Burn the Jews.
Come on. We don't.
Joke.
Oh, no, there's
It's
two
not a funny
Jews
joke.
and only
It's
one
not a
Sikh.
funny
Let's
joke.
get some more Sikhs about it.
Sikh.
Burn the
We
Sikh.
need to get one more Sikh.
Man, you.
Oh,
You know
Sikh.
what? If you're going to make a joke about somebody, you always have to joke about yourself first.
a lot of Sikhs in the
so
heart
we
today,
understand
man.
the context. You understand?
Yeah, no, I got some of it on camera.
Yeah, we got to be doing
It's because it's always a convenient scapegoat. Oh, something goes wrong, it's the Jew, man. It's
Yeah.
the Jews.
Oh, yeah. So
Never
you
when it goes right. When the economy's booming, no one's like, oh, thank the Jews. It's all
No. It's
Even
all the
anti-Semitism is the Jews' fault.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
That's special.
No,
That's
let's
special.
not
That's
go
special.
there.
Yeah,
And we was talking about
that's the
Mark
funniest
Collette
one.
and them, and we could go. Well, now we got more
So
Jews.
your argument would be they bring it upon themselves.
No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that the Jews are making as if there's anti-Semitism for some other,
Okay.
Yeah. That's.
But you know about the kind of split within the Tommy Robinson movement.
It's been a long
They
time
say
since I've been
that
following
they're saying that Tommy Robinson is a Zionist shill.
Yeah.
And he's pro-Israel, so
Yeah.
he's
like that
but
picture when he
automatically
was
if you're
with Shekels that you
pro-Israel,
were talking about.
Yeah.
that you're not
List
pro-UK.
It's what the
Yeah.
Muslims.
So I mean, what do you say about it? Because Mark Collette has been kind of like gunning for the kind of like
Mark Collette, is that the one you did?
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one that you I'm sorry.
no,
sorry.
not me.
All
We look the
all
same.
Jews
All
look the
Jews look the
same.
same.
Sorry, I'm just-
That's so racist.
I know.
You're anti-Semite.
He's a racist. He's a big racist.
So basically, when it comes to this situation, like there's a split at the moment, if you don't know, with Mark Collette kind of like
No, that I know. That's
trying
that I do
trying
know.
to paint that Tommy Robinson is
heard
actually a
about that,
Zionist shill and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard
And one of the things I want to make something clear: the documentary Shalom isn't about Israel. It's about an individual, a UK citizen, who was actually bullied and intimidated to the point he didn't get murdered, but to the point that his health deteriorated and he died. And now people are kind of like linking that wrongly to him supporting Israel. And the documentary is not about Israel, from what I understand.
Yeah, no, it's about person. But I think this is the crazy thing about the UK at the moment. You've got a brown Sikh defending Tommy Robinson for defending Jews. It's like we've ended like topsy-turvy world, like the most.
Well, I support Tommy Robinson.
But this brown Sikh always got a problem with the Muslims.
Oh, stop crying, man.
What do you mean crying?
Okay,
That's
it's a
true.
debate.
You're always
Guys, it's
crying,
debate time.
like-
Let's go.
Just because
What's
I'm
the
high.
discussion?
I just got to say, I do like your jacket.
It's debate
I don't know what your religion is, but that's a serious code.
Oh, he's a nationalist, Somali nationalist.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, let's not derail.
Somalia!
Yeah, so you're
Is that
Somali
Somaliland
nationalist.
or
Let me,
Somali?
this is actually this is an important question.
I don't even know the
If
difference.
Somalia, because I've used the equation that I'm from the Punjab, my people, yeah.
A what?
If hold on, calm down.
Repeat.
My people, like my mother and my family, are from the Punjab, yeah. If I went to the Punjab and all of a sudden there was 30% Chinese there or 40% Chinese, I wouldn't hate the Chinese, but I'd be like, okay, I didn't want that many Chinese there. I'd like my culture there to be what I love about the Punjab is the Punjabi culture. And if you got Chinese now dominating the area, it will change slightly.
So what are you talking
So
about?
I'm asking you, if Somalia, where you're from, if you had a population of, let's just say, white people come in, and they made
white
Christian,
Don't go
they
there.
then
White Christian old
they
man.
then made up 40% of your population. How would you feel about that?
If
But why are we discussing this hypothetical? What's
I know.
Wait.
Yeah, no, don't try and derail it,
What do you
Lefty.
think?
Like we need hypotheticals in order to determine
a
whether.
real situation?
No, hypothetical.
Let
Let
this
him
guy answer.
Let him answer.
Go for it. Go.
Okay, let's just discuss.
Continue. Go.
Yeah, how would you feel if there was a
Bunch of white
40%?
Christians moving to
Imagine
Somalia.
these are all turning up on your doorstep in Somalia, and they got like churches everywhere, and they're like propagating everything. How would you feel if there was 40% white Christians and Jews within Somalia?
Okay, that's a good question, and I will answer it with all my, the best way I could, yeah? So anyways, long story short, you are all, if you come to my country and you're traders, you have influence like knowledge, and you want to contribute that to the society, you're welcome. As long as you're not imposing any of your, whatever it is, leave the people the way they are.
All right,
Because listen.
That's very interesting.
Listen. See, every country have their own rules and laws. Even in Britain, now they have imposed this law of, children underage should learn about homosexuality and LGBT.
Degenerate.
However, if you question whatever they do, that means you are doing speech.
Is this still okay with the recording? Giselle,
Yeah,
still
but
okay?
now, as British citizens, we are not allowed to question what the lawgivers made.
You're in the way.
Is he answering another
But
question?
no, that's interesting.
I think he's
Yeah,
he's saying
one
as long as you
second.
don't change the laws of Somalia, he
Yeah, one
agrees with
second.
that.
Even if we replace like 50% of your population, though, if
First-
Somalia turned like 50% white, would that be okay?
White Christian.
Yeah, white Christian.
if
Would that be
evangelical
okay?
Christian?
What
Like,
if
let's
they
be
made
honest.
it a
With a
democracy?
few Sikhs thrown in.
And a few seats thrown in, yeah.
That's
You only need one. You only need
3
one
million
though.
whites.
Huh?
Yeah, I've got 3 Sikhs and 3 million whites.
Yeah.
Now, supposing they started voting for their own benefit, and they said, okay, we don't want to have any Somalians living here because we're going to vote for that.
How would you feel that happened in Israel?
No, that's.
So let's say
don't change the
Mogadishu-
question.
No, but how?
Mayor of
No. That's a good question as well.
Yeah.
But let's. How?
So I've got a
Don't
good
ask
example.
me. Oi,
Okay,
don't
that's what
ask me.
Israelis would like
Don't
that too
ask me a
much.
question. You won't feel comfortable with.
Can I answer?
Thank you. You answer. He's more.
20% of Israelis aren't Jewish. 0.0 something percent of Somalis aren't Somali.
What do you mean?
The 99 point something percent of Somalis, Somalia, like citizens of Somalia, are Somali.
Okay, that's true.
Ethnically.
True. Yeah.
But 20% of Israelis aren't Jewish.
20% only.
20%. No, only that's like the same as here. Israel is as ethnically diverse as the UK.
But in a Jewish state,
You smell blood there.
yeah. How would you feel if a million Somali came to your
Okay, you don't
country
answer it, so
and
I'll
now
answer it.
and now one sec. How would you feel? How would you feel?
I'll answer your question.
Okay, but how would you feel if a million Somalis came to your country?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they want to impose their own laws,
Yeah.
they want to do their own thing
I get the
and
question.
take
I think you've
over.
already said it already.
Yeah,
Right,
go
So
on.
can I
yeah.
pick up on that point? So
Okay,
you said that
so-
it would be acceptable for us to go to the society, basically as long as we sort of assimilated and we didn't say, well, we've got our own set of laws, we've got our own set of values, we're not going to impose them on you, we'll sort of keep ourselves to ourselves, we'll behave. That's fine. Do you think that Muslims are doing that in Britain?
Do you think? See what individuals do. I'm a Muslim.
I think
But he
they
hasn't
do.
even answered the question.
I
That's
think
the
they
problem.
do.
That's
I
the
think
I've answered the question.
most
I've answered the
Muslims in
question.
the UK follow
I
British
did.
law.
Answer the first question. You said if a whole load of white people went to Somalia and they started voting for their own interests, what would you do? You just put it back up to me instead of answering the question. So,
Oh, but
are you gonna answer
but
or
you
not?
won't feel
I'll
that
answer it.
because
I'll
you
answer
won't.
if
Go on. You answer it.
Okay, I would say.
But be honest though. Don't.
No, of course, I'll be honest.
No
I would
tequila.
say.
I'm wanting trying to
I
use
would
an
say,
example that's not Israel here, though.
So what I would say is, right, I work with principles. It doesn't matter where you're from, right, what colour skin you are, the religion, what kind of group you are. I work with principles. So I would say that any
No, not what you would say. What your government would say. What your people would
His
say.
government's the British government.
Is it the British government?
My opinion,
I'm
you're
talking
asking
about
Israeli opinion.
Israel.
This is getting ridiculous.
I'm asking about Israel.
Realistic to the
This is
UK.
getting ridiculous.
Because every time
Ask you
you
a
do
question,
it,
then you
about
ask
Israel.
me a question about my opinion. Now you're asking Israeli government.
Are you Israeli? Don't talk about Britain. I want you to talk about Israel.
But he was trying to.
Oh, is it?
Sorry, can we get back to the topic? One minute. Now, I'm going to ask you a question again. Now, you stated that
I'm going to go.
Yeah, but I've got a problem with your camera.
Well, I don't give a shit then. You're going to have to move. You can't tell me not to move.
You can't be doing it, man.
I can.
I'm going to break the phone, man.
You're going to break it?
Keep away your camera.
You're going to break my
I'm warning you
phone?
right now.
Well, then move away then.
No, but don't
We're
put
having a
it.
conversation.
You can record all these things.
No.
This camera's
filming.
This camera's okay.
That camera's filming.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
He's cool.
Because he's the star. We're only here because of him.
Okay,
Is it?
so
Oh, wow.
basically,
Back to the topic.
what you said was that I asked you the question about if Somalia, a whole group of people started making up the population of like maybe 40% of Christians that were evangelical as well, not just your normal Christians,
So we said
What,
Somalia,
exactly?
but if you want to be
And
gay,
you said, and some of them might be
marry
gay, some of them might be straight, some of them might want to be
pork, you can eat
transgenders.
pork.
But the thing is, if they come into the country, but they started demanding stuff that went against your kind of beliefs and
Okay,
ideals.
I get it.
Would you
So
accept that?
now, the thing is, do you want the long answer or you want the short answer?
We don't mind, whichever one.
The short answer, I won't be comfortable with it.
Okay, perfect. Now, because I think you're framing something that isn't true. I think you're saying that Muslims are coming to the UK and trying to change the laws.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, good, because I don't think that's what's happening.
But they are sort of making demands. They're making demands about.
What demands?
Well, so they're saying that we shouldn't be teaching people about
But
gay relationships.
so
I agree with the Muslims. I agree with the Muslims. I don't want my kids being taught about
I think we're united on that.
To the whole Muslim community. That's one school in Birmingham.
So walk around this corner, ask every.
I think there is some.
And that's been found illegal by the British courts, and the instigators of that demonstration have been banned from being anywhere
I
near
think, but
the
that's
school.
a religious thing. I think there's a large majority of people across multiple religions.
Yeah,
So
it's
this
kind
goes
of common
Islam,
sense.
Islam is religion and it's law. It's a doctrine.
But-
So it encompasses everything.
It's a certain form of.
It
But you know what?
encompasses
Let me-
society. You know how you conduct yourself in your personal life. You know, democracy. That is what Islam is.
Yeah, but
It's,
can I?
it's not just a religious doctrine.
But by that same, you have many different ideologies within the UK, which are also self-contained systems.
And each group doesn't go around trying to impose their
But I don't
beliefs
think
and their
Muslims
demands.
are. Which
One
Muslims
sec.
are trying to, with the exception of Al Majaroon,
So
his
why
Muqtadiya,
is all meat in school meals halal? Why is that?
Why?
Why is all meat that's used in school meals halal?
I can't.
Why does that happen?
I can't.
Why is it halal meat?
Why is halal meat used in school meals?
My understanding of the why halal meat is used, and by the way, if you eat meat in McDonald's, you're eating halal meat as well.
I don't eat McDonald's.
The reason is that because if you
Are you sure?
look, if you ask a question, do you want an answer?
Yeah, no, let's. Yeah, I'm gonna
The reason is that most halal meat slaughtered in this country is slaughtered in exactly the same way as anyone else, except yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've looked into this. Over 80% of halal meat. The only difference is that certain Arabic words are said over the process. Okay,
That's true. That's
well,
true.
you're staying there saying
I'm a
I've
Muslim.
looked into
Most
this.
halal
I've
is
looked into this because I've
first and then
argued.
they-
Right. So that's why most of the fast food chicken and all the rest is halal, because there's no difference except for the word said over
And it's
the
inhumane.
carcass. Sorry.
They don't stun the animal.
They
They
do.
do.
They do
80%,
stun.
over
Okay.
80%
Not
is
halal.
done.
So
It is halal.
They
It's
stun
halal
and then
stamped.
There's
You
two
don't know what
schools.
you're talking
There's
about.
two schools
You're
of
just
thought with
expressing
it. 2 minutes.
prejudice.
There's two schools of thought with how you do slaughter ritually within halal. And one is that you can stun the animal first and then cut the throat.
What?
So
You
don't
can
do
what?
you can stun the animal first
No, you
and then you
can't.
cut, and then the other
can't,
school is how
no,
you hold.
No, you can't.
And
You
then
can't
hold.
stun the animal.
So
UK.
okay, so if I can show you, if I can show you,
UK
comes to
the
your
UK
fence.
Halal meat, you have to kill the animal while it's still alive.
The
The UK imams have issued a fatwa on this, and that's what changed.
That's what the
And
Quran
that's-
says, though. Forget the
well,
imams.
But the
I don't
imams are
worship the
talking
imams.
about
Thank you.
Oh,
I
he's
don't
gonna get
worship the
brownie
imams.
points now from this.
I don't worship the imams.
Whoa, what is this, Raj?
Yeah.
What is-
Okay, just
because
this
you're
is
brown,
one man's
you can be
opinion.
racist.
This is He's saying he doesn't worship the imam.
What is this?
He's saying 2 minutes. You're saying you as an educated Muslim will admit there is a school of thought within the UK that says that it's halal and not haram to stun and then slaughter. You're saying you hold differently.
It's dead. For example, look. In Islam,
I get, but you're saying
the imams
can you
in this
just
country.
can you?
Imams
we don't listen to the imams. In Islam,
You're not an imam. You're not an
you don't
imam.
listen to me, my brother. Listen to me. In Islam, we don't listen to the imams. If they are,
Islam, you don't listen to the Quran.
we listen to the Quran and the Hadith. And if they say anything that's against the Quran and the Hadith, we don't listen to that.
Habibi, yalla. Quick question.
Interpreted in many different ways. Specific ways.
KFC and McDonald's. When you go and eat that halal meat,
That's been cruelly reduced. Is that what you think?
kosher halal KFC. Would you eat it?
Halal KFC.
Yeah.
I won't eat from. I don't even eat from McDonald's sometimes.
It's not halal.
You won't.
It is halal. It's given the halal.
So what it says in the Quran, it says that you can
You're
electronically
you
stun
are
an animal in the
basically
Quran.
looking
in this
for the most
ancient
literalist
text.
extreme
No, I'm
version
not.
Yeah,
of
man,
Islam.
haven't you
So
read
you
it?
can
2 minutes. You're basically saying he wouldn't eat the halal that's been served at school dinners, and he wouldn't eat
It's
the
not halal,
halal.
is it? It's not
No,
halal.
it's not
It's
halal.
not
He's saying it. So he's saying that all the meat that you
Kosher is more halal than that meat you're talking about.
Quran agrees with me.
Kosher.
Muslim man agrees with
But
me.
what I'm saying is,
Yes, I do. I've read it.
The halal that you have an issue with, this man doesn't eat.
Pardon?
The halal that you have an issue with,
Yeah.
this man doesn't eat.
But it's not halal.
That's fine.
halal, yeah.
So that you're both in it. So
But how do you know that the meat that's being used in school has? How do you differentiate?
because
how do you know?
it's what he's saying. The
You're
meat.
not even
Yeah,
a
how do you know
Muslim,
it's
are you? You haven't even checked your facts.
I have.
Oh, you've checked them with him. You found
So
something
the
you've
Quran.
agreed with.
Have you read the
Let's ask
Quran?
another Muslim.
Press one
Let's ask
in the
another
chat.
Muslim.
Okay.
If
Let's ask
it's
another
halal or
Muslim.
not.
Another Muslim
Press
there.
Can I
one.
put a check
If it is and two if it's not.
85%
One
of
if it
all
is
meat
halal
that's
and two if
produced
it's
under
not halal.
halal
I'm doing a poll
in this
when they
country
got set.
is stunned first before
you
the
can see the
throat is
comment.
cut.
No, it's actually like that.
That is
Basically,
why
it's
McDonald's
unconscious
says
when it's cut.
halal
That's
meat.
haram.
That is why the
You have
supermarkets
see,
Press
sell
F
halal.
to
it's haram.
No,
It's haram. It's haram.
So are you guys going vegans?
Oh yeah.
Most.
Listen to what they're saying. They agree with
It
me.
is
These
alive.
are
The
Muslims. They
stunning-
agree with me.
The stunning doesn't kill the
It's
animal.
not halal.
It stuns it.
Right.
It's not, see?
Yes, Kareem.
The
Yes,
stunning-
Kareem.
Stunning doesn't
can't.
kill
We
the
can't.
animal.
No, stunning. You have to slaughter the animal straight away.
There's two schools of
The
thought.
animal is still
Kareem, come
alive.
in.
The animal is still breathing. Yes,
no,
it is.
no
The animal
stunning.
still has a
He's an imam now. He's an imam. He's a mufti of Saudi Arabia. He's put a fatwa.
This is
He's a new mufti of Saudi
this is a
Arabia.
fitna, man. This is fitna.
Yes, well,
A non-Muslim is telling Muslims whether something is halal.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
No, man, but all
You supplicate, right? When you
he's right.
slaughter. You do
All of us
supplication.
need to check our facts.
Yeah, he's the new imam of Saudi Arabia.
We say a
Grand
blessing
Mufti.
before we do it.
He's made a fatwa on halal meat now.
Yeah, it's very similar. You'll say Bismillah.
He's telling you, listen
Talking
to
about
him.
halal for so long.
He's above Islam. He's telling you, listen to him.
have you ever been into a slaughterhouse, sir? I have.
I've seen
What
enough
they
of them.
do,
I've seen
they
enough of
hang the
them.
chicken upside down. The head goes into water where there's an electric current going through. The electric
seen it.
current is designed to stun the animal. The animal is still
So it's not
alive.
halal.
The animal is breathing. The animal is still
that
alive.
means
justify
When
that.
So that means we can't eat halal no more.
words are
We
said-
can't trust the halal shop no more.
What we have here is we have William and Ahmed Jamoud going.
Can I ask you a question?
Stop eating meat.
Yeah, stop eating meat. I agree.
Whoa, no
And
way,
if you're
man,
gonna
no
eat
way.
it,
Again, become vegan.
Get your vegetarian soy boy ideology out of here.
I like to eat
Oh yeah,
beef.
take care, man. Take care. Yeah.
You're trying to sell us stunk meat.
But anyways, look, going back to the original question this guy asked.
Somalia.
Somalia, look.
Back to the Somalis.
Let's come back to Somalia.
Let's all come back to Somalia. All of us.
The reason why I said I'm not comfortable with,
Yeah.
is because
Nor should you be.
as Somalis, we are built upon a culture. And our culture is intertwined within our religion. And this is something that's been passed on through centuries.
Is there
You
any
see-
culture that isn't intertwined with its religion? But
No,
anyway,
that's, you don't get it.
I do get it.
What's your culture? You're British, right? What's your culture?
I'm Irish, sir.
No, okay, what's your Irish?
That was
You
a
can
big
eat
faux
pigeon.
pas.
Why don't you put it in your bunda?
You cannot
Put
write
that
any
pigeon in your
history
bun,
of the
Kanjar.
Irish without referring to the religion.
Why not?
No,
Catholicism.
that's
Put
right.
in your bunda, Kanjaro.
Prior,
Oh, yeah, of course it
prior
is.
to your
Put it
religion, What were you?
We were pagans.
There's a little mouthy little prick over there, yeah? There's a little harami over there. Mouthing up like a little putty. Shut your mouth, Kanjaro.
I don't know what you're saying, right?
It's so funny.
I don't know what you're saying.
Move out of the way, Kanjaro. Move out of the way. Kanjaro, move out of the way.
He was there. His father was a pagan.
Can we have one
Move out of the way,
person speaking,
Kanjaro.
please?
Guys,
Eat me, do you know? He wants to eat me. Dirty boy.
Oh, cannibals,
Look at him, look at him, tell it to him. This guy wants to eat me.
Cannibalism was present in every civilization. I'm sorry to bring it up.
You don't have proof of that.
Anyway, returning, your culture is part of is intertwined with your religion, yes.
Let's have a look at this guy.
That fact was.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at that guy.
Conversations.
What do you want to do then? What do you want to do? Put it down. Ki karna, Kanjar.
Guys, this is
That's
great.
what
Speak
English.
English.
Come on,
Speak English.
Come on.
This is
Let's
great.
talk, Kanjar. Let's talk. That's when come here. Come over here. Come over here. Put it down. Come
Leave
over
your
here.
personal beef
And let's
outside
talk.
of here.
Ask him a question.
All I said is, can I eat pigeons?
Yeah, and I said to you, put it in your bond. Put a pigeon in your bond, Kanjar.
I'm seriously.
Kanjar, we used to
What's going on with this
Kanjar means
If we may return.
You two love birds. Take it over there.
Oh yeah, go back.
Tell your people to be
This
quiet.
ain't my people, you mad? Look at the state of him. Bunda looks like he come from freaking Mars or something. I don't give a shit if you're Punjabi. Move. Move out the way. Move.
Laughing.
Shut your mouth, Kanjar. Move.
Okay, guys, let's go back to Somalia.
Listen to him, Putida. You can't be civilized with me now when you're mouthing off. Move out the way. Move out the way, Kanjar. Move out the way. Get out the way.
Okay, and
Get out the way.
Khalas.
Just leave it there, boys.
Khalas. It's done.
Okay,
You know what you to conclude.
brothers, calm down.
Hold on. Two corner.
Wait, there's a camera.
Who are you? Who are you to conclude?
Go to him on that side.
What for?
Rush,
Yeah,
just
move
ignore
out
them.
of the way,
Ignore them, man.
man.
Ignore them.
Right.
Okay, they fucked off. Okay, excellent.
Back to Somalia. Let's come back to Somalia.
Your culture and your religion are intertwined.
Yeah, but they're not.
Yeah, I'll shit on your head later. When that bird goes over your head and that on your head, it's gonna be me.
Ignore
Stop
them.
being an
No, that white little bit of you. Move.
Ignore them, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I do. A big dirty right in your mouth. Dirty in your mouth. I tell you, right in your dunder. Yeah, move.
Right, calm down, man. You're wasting your memory card.
You're a fan. How do you know me? You're one of my fans again, aren't you? Are you come down to do the pilgrimage to the Raj?
Right, go to them. Go to them. on that side. Go to them, man.
Back to Somalia.
Yeah.
Such a
As
shit
you're
show,
saying,
man.
as
This
you're
is
saying.
such
Back
a
to
shit
Somalia,
show.
yeah?
And literally, I can feel myself getting dumber.
Yeah,
So
I'm losing
basically-
IQ points
Yeah,
and getting
yeah.
chromosomes at the
The
same
thing is
time.
this, yeah? Is it the Somali people? You see, the Somali people, Ethiopia, Eritreans, but mainly I'm
East
talking about
Africans,
East Africans. Mainly Northeast Africans.
Yes.
Yeah, to be specific. Now, the Somali people,
now he's coming back again.
their culture, right, is like we have this sort of culture that when you look at it in a way, for example, Islam, what Islam did to us is that it was like a filter. It didn't add something to our culture. We already had what we have.
Yeah, you already
know
had
what I mean? The only thing that we got from Islam is the worship of one God and so on and so forth. Prior to Islam, we worshipped something called Waq. Waq meaning the God of water and life, so on and so forth. That's what we used to believe. Don't let me start. Right? And that's what we used to believe, innit? But at the end of the day,
He's a
now
fan
that we
of mine.
have Islam.
He's a fan of mine.
Okay, go with him. Go with him. Guys, have some coffee.
Fan of mine.
Have some coffee. Have some
Yeah, but I
dinner
keep you're
together.
spoiling it.
Have some dinner together.
You want an
guys. Come on,
autograph?
go.
You want an autograph?
I'm just telling you, stop
You want an autograph? Do you want an
But
autograph?
anyways, because I can't
You want an
communicate.
autograph, Pundita? Do you want it? Get the
Right,
paper.
right, can you go to him?
Autograph for you. You're obviously a fan.
Go to him.
Either go with him or ignore him.
No,
Raj.
go.
Okay, then ignore him. Just
I'm
ignore
only
him.
joking. I enjoy a bit of I
Just
enjoy a bit
ignore
of
him.
banter.
Ignore him, man. Ignore him.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Xmas.
That's a fair
Yeah, happy Yarmulke. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah.
So basically,
I meant Hanukkah.
These discussions just lost.
yeah, so
Happy
basically,
Hanukkah.
yeah, we're good. So basically, what happens, yeah, in my country, everything is like part of everything. Innit? So basically, you've got, yeah. So no, it's my
They don't
country.
sound the same though, man.
There's a lot left. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Sorry, guys.
It's because of. Anyways, in my country, there's a lot of things that we do. So let's just say if a bunch of non-Somalis come to Somalia, if they are willing to contribute to the economy, trying to maybe open schools, being part of society, integrating, I don't mind that.
Okay.
But as long as they're trying to infiltrate within the culture and the religion and trying to change the law of the country, then I would have a problem with that. The reason why I said this.
I agree.
But still, let me explain to you why.
Let him justify.
What's
Name me one single government of Somalia that has had total control of the territory of Somalia.
All of it. All of Somalia.
Even Somaliland.
Wait. We're talking about 1960s.
Right.
Yes, Barre.
And that was a Russian-backed regime, correct?
What do you mean Russian? No, we were allied. We were allied.
Soviet?
We were allied with the Russians.
You mean Soviet?
Exactly.
Yeah,
We were
Soviet
allied.
Right. So the regime in Somalia at that time.
Oh, you should start watching
Russian weapons,
You start
Russian
watching
intelligence to suppress its country.
Now he leaves.
Impose communism on Somalia.
Somalia was the ally of Russia. And the weapons that we
Soviet
got from,
Union.
Yeah, Soviet Union. And the weapons we had, they didn't give it to us for free, bro. We bought it.
From man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Russia did not colonize. What kind of history?
They colonized you because they wanted to control.
They couldn't control. No one could control Somalia. Even the British. Look, Britain, France, and Italy combined could not control Somalia. How would a single
one weak spot. We got everywhere else, though.
I know.
You control the country by controlling the political elite. There's no doubt
we've got the land where the sun doesn't set, right? They came to us. When they came to us, the sun set upon them. So who are you?
So what did Somalia have that Russia needed?
What did Somalia have Russia needed? We had oil, we had minerals.
Russia has plenty of oil. Azerbaijan.
Well, still they wanted it. I don't know.